I heard this story from a friend of my cousin who lived in a suburb outside Boston during his college years. He swore every detail was true, and that if you drive down that coastal road on a moonless night, you can still see that figure. It started in the summer of 2003. Four kids in a small New England town, 3 boys, 1 girl, decided to do something that any kid growing up near the coast knows about: drive out to the old jetty. The jetty was a long, narrow stretch of rock. I heard this story from a friend of my cousin who lived in a suburb outside Boston during his college years. He swore every detail was true, and that if you drive down that coastal road on a moonless night, you can still see that figure. It started in the summer of 2003. Four kids in a small New England town, 3 boys, 1 girl, decided to do something that any kid growing up near the coast knows about: drive out to the old jetty. The jetty was a long, narrow stretch of rock, just wide enough for a car, jutting straight out into the ocean. During the day, it was a place for fishing and watching sunsets. But at night, it had a dark beauty and a whole list of rumors. Someone had jumped from there to commit suicide. The body of a young girl had washed up after a party. And some said that if you turned off your engine and let your car roll on its own, you could hear footsteps running behind you. But those 4 kids, Mark, Tyler, Jess, and her city cousin Leo, didn't believe any of it. To them, it was just a weekend thrill, a few beers, a portable CD player, and the rush of rebellion. Around 11:00 p.m., Mark's old Ford Mustang rolled onto the jetty. There were no streetlights, only a sliver of moonlight reflecting off the black water. On both sides, walls of water rose, and the sound of waves crashing against the granite boulders sounded like indistinct whispering. They parked near the end of the jetty, where a small turnaround allowed cars to head back. Jess opened her door and stepped out, inhaling the salty, briny air. Tyler lit a cigarette. The flame flared briefly, then went dark. Leo, the city cousin, looked uncomfortable. He kept staring toward the far end of the jetty, where the darkness seemed thicker, where there was nothing but rock and sea. "Hey," Leo said, "I heard there's a legend about this place. About a man." Tyler laughed loudly, cutting him off. "Here we go. You're from the city and you actually believe that stuff? There's nothing here but waves and wind." But Mark was quiet. He was looking back toward the beginning of the jetty, where they had driven in. In the distance, through a thin mist rising off the sea, a silhouette was visible. "Hey, look at that," Mark said, his voice suddenly low. "Someone's walking out here." Everyone turned. Sure enough, from the landward side, a man was walking along the jetty. His figure was pitch black, shapeless, but his steps were slow and steady. Too steady. Jess giggled, but her laughter sounded forced. "Probably just an old fisherman coming in late." "Nobody fishes this late," Tyler said, stubbing out his cigarette. "And nobody walks the jetty in the middle of the night unless he was looking for something or someone." Leo tugged Mark's sleeve. "I think we should go." "Come on. It's just a guy taking a walk. Let's see if he passes us first." Mark tried to sound calm, but his eyes never left the dark figure approaching. The man was in no hurry. Every step seemed measured. Gradually, they began to make out details. He wore a long, dark coat, hands in his pockets. His face was still hidden in shadow, but one thing made all 4 of them shiver at the same time. They couldn't hear his footsteps. No sound of feet on rock. Only the waves and the pounding of their own hearts. "Get in the car," Mark said, in a tone that left no room for argument. All 4 scrambled into the Mustang. Mark turned the key. The engine started immediately, something he would remember later with dread, because that car had a habit of stalling. Mark flipped on the headlights. And they saw him. He was standing less than 30 feet from the car. The headlights shone directly onto him, and there was no shadow. His shadow, which should have stretched long on the stone road, didn't exist. It was as if the light passed straight through him. But his face, that was what made Jess burst into sobs, what made Tyler grip the seat until his fingernails dug into the upholstery. That man had no face. Not wrinkled, not hidden, just a flat, smooth expanse of skin from forehead to chin, where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. A seamless surface, like a giant egg. Mark slammed the gas pedal. The car shot forward, and as it sped past the spot where the man stood, Leo, who was sitting in the rear passenger seat, swore he saw the figure turn his entire head 180 degrees. That blank, featureless face aimed at the fleeing car, as if watching them. No, as if watching inside them. They didn't stop until they reached the town, pulling straight into the police station parking lot. They told the story to the officer on night duty. He listened, expressionless, then sighed. "You kids aren't the first," he said, rubbing his stubbled chin. "That old man. Folks around here call him the Keeper of the Jetty. They say he died out there back in the 70s, after a fight with his wife. They never found the body. But every so often, on nights as dark as this, he shows up. And there's one thing you ought to know." The officer looked each of them in the eye. "Anyone who sees his face, he'll come looking for them." Jess started crying. Mark tried to keep it together. "So what do we do?" The officer shrugged. "Pray. And never drive out on that jetty at night again." They thought the story ended there. They never saw the faceless man again. They graduated, left town, and almost never talked about it. Until 10 years later. Jess got a text from Mark at 3:17 in the morning. Just a few words, "It's in my house." She called back immediately. No signal. The next morning, she learned Mark had died in his sleep. Cause of death? Heart attack. A healthy 28-year-old man with no history of heart problems. An autopsy found nothing unusual, except for one strange detail the coroner noted in the report, which was later dismissed as an error in body preservation. The family requested a Catholic funeral. But when the funeral home staff arrived, they discovered that Mark's face was smooth. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. A flat expanse of skin, from forehead to chin. Exactly like the man on the jetty. All those years ago. When Tyler heard the news, he fled. Nobody knew where. Jess stayed. But from that night on, she never looked into a mirror after dark. And Leo was the one who told this story to my cousin before he moved to another state, a place with no ocean, no jetty, and especially no moonless nights. But before he left, Leo said one thing that still haunts me. You know what the scariest part is? It's not that he doesn't have a face. It's that when he stands in front of you, you feel like he sees you, and he wants to take your face. If someday you're driving along a coastal road on a moonless night, and you see a figure walking on a long, dark jetty, don't stop. Don't look directly at him. And above all, never turn on your headlights. Because if you see his face, then one day he'll see yours. In the mirror at 3:17 a.m. And you won't be you anymore.